So, fun fact, Tom was supposed to be joining me for this review, but we got like a foot of snow outside, so I'm here alone again. The Strangers is written and directed by Brian Bertino. It stars Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, and it tells the story of a couple who go on an awkward weekend getaway, and they're set upon by a bunch of masked weirdos who enjoy really psychologically fucking with them. This is a movie I recall at the time of it being made, being hyped as one of the scariest movies ever made, and that it was inspired by true events, and that this couple was murdered by these masked crazy people. And you want to know what the actual true events of this movie were? A couple of people went up to Brian Bertino's neighbors and asked for somebody who didn't live there, and it turned out that they were cat burglars who were trying to burgle people. The end. I guess I'll start by saying I do really love this movie, but is it as great or as scary as everybody says? No. No, it isn't. It's kind of overrated, actually. And I'd kind of call it more of a guilty pleasure film than a flat-out great horror movie. Some of the things this movie does, it does really well. Other things it does are really, really dumb. The only real way to talk about this film is to address the fact that it's something of a roller coaster in regards to quality. It starts off great. Then it gets really stupid. Then it gets really good again. Then it gets really stupid. But seeing how I want this review to have some sort of structure, I'm going to get into what it does right first. Right off the bat, this movie does have a really strong start. You're introduced to these characters at a really awkward point. You know, going on a weekend getaway after a marriage proposal gone wrong. We've all been there. And while we don't really get any characterization of these two past that point, that setup is really good. Because you're starting the film in an already tense situation. If any of you have ever been before in a really weird, like, quasi-breakup, you'll know that there are a lot of conflicting emotions. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of anger, there's a whole mess of emotions in there. And so essentially, you're starting this film off in an emotional powder keg, which only serves to exponentially increase the tension, and I think that narratively, that's a great place to start your film, especially if you want things to be tense right off the bat. That is a great creative decision that this film makes. Throw in some oldies playing on vinyl and some masked lunatics on top of that, that's a brilliant setup for a horror film. And then the Strangers show up, and their introductions are fantastic, or at least two of the three are. Dollface's intro is awesome because it's something that we've all experienced at some point or another when you encounter somebody who's just kind of off. She seems just like a girl who's lost, but she's completely hidden in shadow, and she's not acting quite right. There's something about her that's a little odd. And then the line, "Is Tamara home?" is spoken with such little human emotion that it's actually kind of chilling. And since she's the only villain in this film who actually speaks, she gets the added benefit of her dialogue characterizing her a bit. And her delivery of most of her lines are really effective because there's something so monotone and detached about them. And in any other film, I would just call that bad acting, but in a film like this, it works really well because it comes across very detached and robotic, and it makes you really uncomfortable because there's just something about her that's not right. The same goes for the masked man's introduction. I'm talking about the shot. You know, the iconic shot that everybody knows this film for. It's hands down the best shot in the film. Just the one long take of Liv Tyler smoking in the kitchen with the masked man subtly in the background staring at her. That shot is all you need to sum up why this film is scary, because these people can get in at any time and they're just fucking with them. It's pure sadism. That, conceptually, is pretty scary. Pinup Girl's just kind of there. Overall, the first half of this film is really well done. The atmosphere is absurdly tense. There's very few shots outside the house, which ultimately leaves the presence of the strangers as a mystery. Who are they? Why are they there? How many of them are there? What do they look like? What do they want? And then the second half of the film happens. Right around the point where... And after that, there's a steep decline, and it really becomes kind of run-of-the-mill. There's suddenly a lot of jump scares, there's a lot of really poor choices and just flat-out horror movie stupidity. James is looking for the gun and tells Kristen that his dad used to take him hunting up there, but then once he finds the gun, he comments that he doesn't know how to load it, and that him saying that his dad used to take him hunting was just something he said. Cool, good thing to say in a crisis situation. Characters run outside repeatedly after countless attempts of doing so backfiring on them. Then there's the fact that all the scares in the back half of this film are just there for the audience. The strangers themselves kind of become cartoons and try and scare the audience more than the people they're actually stalking. And it just comes across as silly. None of the characters actually see the people stalking them, and so we're treated to all these weird shots of the main characters being followed by the strangers with like knives in their hands, and it leads to nothing. Nothing happens. They don't do anything. They're just a bunch of sequences that build to virtually nothing and feel like they're basically just there for the audience to go, "Oh my god, look, she's right behind you, look out!" It's dumb. The climax is still pretty good, with the line "because you were home" being absolutely chilling and hands down the most horrifying piece of dialogue in this film. I like the way that that line alone explores the idea of stranger on stranger violence. That's really cool. But everything leading up to it in the second half feels just really uninspired. And then there's the epilogue. The epilogue here is done for a lot of reasons. Ending on a stereotypical jump scare is one thing, but the reactions of the kids don't even match with the freaking out crying phone call we hear at the beginning of the film. These kids don't look like they wandered into a murder scene, they just look bored. Basically what I'm getting at is the first half of this film wildly overpowers the second half of this film. And like I said, I wouldn't go nearly as far to say that this film is bad, but it's not the masterpiece that people make it out to be. I'm gonna say that The Strangers is good for fans of home invasion films. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it does have its fair share of iconic creepy moments, and it's also got a good amount of dumb ones as well. It's pretty much just a fun, spooky time to show to your girlfriend to keep her scared for 80 minutes and hold you. Credit where credit's due, it is one of the better home invasion flicks, but it still doesn't measure up to masterpieces like Wait Until Dark. It's a fun, creepy, somewhat cliche time. If you haven't seen it 10 years later, fucking what are you doing? Just watch it, get it over with. There's a new one coming out on Friday. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You can click down there and like and comment and subscribe. There's a Patreon link down there if you want to give us money so that we can make this channel better and fancier and look really nice and cool and fun. Consider that. It's a cool idea. This is all leading up to my review of The Strangers Pray at Night, which comes out on Friday and is directed by the director of The Other Side of the Door. I don't have high hopes. Thanks, guys.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you were home.